Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. Now, this book, written by Neely Fuller Jr. first in the 1980s and updated as far back as about 2016, is a book that talks all about the global system of white supremacy and how this system basically oppresses black people and is designed to keep black people at the bottom. And this book, as it talks about this racist code created by the system, and I believe to be religion of white supremacy, keeps black people at the bottom, also gives black people a guidebook to be able to navigate a life in the system of white supremacy and learn all about the written and unwritten social rules of the system of white supremacy and creating a counter code to be able to overcome that system. Now, Neely Fuller Jr. in the thesis of his book talks about how he and other millions of people have become the victim and servant of white supremacy, and this is something I can agree with him on, because with the system of white supremacy, it is so insidious in the world of the global system that it's basically like a religion. And many people, as I've seen from my own observations, have practiced white supremacy before any religion that they say that they are affiliated with, and basically unconsciously follow that system of white supremacy, and that's how people can become victims and servants of white supremacy, because it's something that is passed on unconsciously from generation to generation, to the point where, again, it's basically, as I see it, become a religion to many people before God, and basically has become a God that people serve without unconsciously serving it. Now, according to Neely Fuller Jr., he believes that racism has done more to promote non-justice than any other socio-material system, and I'd have to agree with him on that point, because the whole system of white supremacy is based on injustice, and it's based on injustice because it creates a bias that elevates white people and non-blacks above black people, and creates this bias where the white person is seen as the ultimate ideal and is seen as someone who is basically incapable of doing wrong, even though ironically they have done more evil to people, and that's basically what makes them, this whole system, completely unjust, because we are meeting their standard of justice, but they will never see any wrong they have done to anyone. And that's what the foundations of white supremacy are, is again about making injustice, because you're making a world where the white person feels they are superior, they feel better than anyone, and that anything they do, whether it doesn't matter what it is, even if we see it's wrong, they believe it's right, so they feel justified in doing wrong to people. And that whole problem of injustice is one that has plagued people all over the world. And when it comes to the whole system of white supremacy, the only way for us to get a system of justice is to eliminate the entire system of white supremacy. Now, Neely Fuller Jr. goes on to talk about how this system of white supremacy prevents us from being able to grow, because according to his theory, racism really retards and prevents all constructive activity between people. And he's right about that, I would say, because the whole thing that's keeping people from being able to grow and actualize their potential, especially foundational black Americans, is this system of white supremacy, where in order for the white supremacist to have a smooth world, he needs to see black people at the bottom. So as long as people see black people at the bottom, they can feel comfortable about their place in the system of white supremacy. And in order for them to feel comfortable, they need to see black people at the bottom, failing, messing up, and never achieving anything. So they need that system in place, and they need to keep black people from being able to actualize their potential, and they want to keep black people in that place of arrested development. That's what racism is all about, keeping black people from being able to achieve and accomplish and actualize our potential. And that's what this whole system of white supremacy is all about. Now, Neely Fuller Jr. goes on to talk about how the only form of functional racism that exists of people in the known universe is white supremacy, and that is a definite fact, because the only system of racism that functions is white supremacy, because all other non-black races get their benefits from the system of white supremacy, and they get their benefits from the system of white supremacy because as long as there's a white person at the top, they can create a covert contract in order to be part of a buffer class. And that's why it's a functional form of racism, because people receive and reap benefits from that system, and they receive benefits from that system because they want to get the power and resources from those who they believe control the power and the resources. Now, he goes on to talk about the way people have the ability to eliminate racism, but the whole thing is they don't want to eliminate racism because many of these minorities and these black bootlicks receive benefits from that system. They have the will to do so, but they don't want to do so because many of these people, again, they don't have any faith in the Most High God. No, they only have faith in this system. And that's why, again, I say white supremacy is a religion, because people trust in the system of white supremacy more than the Most High God. And since they have faith in that system, they don't want to let go of that faith. And that's where there's a conflict between people and the system. And that's why they want to believe in this system more than they believe in God. I mean, that's a brilliant point made by Neely Fuller Jr. Again, people have the ability to eliminate racism, but don't want to because they receive so many benefits from it. So that's a good point that he makes in this book. And he also talks about how the relationship between white people and black people is a total disaster. And that's an observation I made back in 2010, 2011. It's a disaster, and that's by design, because what they want to do is foster a codependent relationship with black people. And again, in the codependent relationship, the white supremacist wants to be the one with power, and they want to be the one with power because they want to control black people, because they're insecure about their place in the world, and they fear that if the black person and black people as a collective rise to power, they fear they may never be able to have any power ever again due to all of the oppressive things they've done in their system of white supremacy. They have done a lot to black people, and again, the relationship has been a disaster because they're insecure about losing their power, and they need that codependent relationship in order to feel emotionally secure. So when it comes to the white supremacists and their supporters, again, with the relationship between white people and black people has been a disaster because it's never been on equal footing in this country from minute one. And it's never been an equal footing from minute one because black people have always been in the lowest class status in this society. As slaves, even free men and women of color were in a bottom position, and we never would have a good relationship unless we get to a system of justice. And the reason why we can't get to a system of justice is because many of the white supremacists and racists, they want to maintain their power base, and they want to maintain their power base because of they know that their whole system is based on a lie, and if they had to deal with the truth, the truth would tell them that most of what they got was based on what black people built for them, and they would have to pay black people in a system of justice. You would have to pay black people reparations. You would have to give black people tangibles, and you would have to realize that your entire economic base came from black people. But the racists don't want to acknowledge this because they're receiving benefits from it, and their minority supporters are receiving benefits from it as well. And the whole thing is that this system is, again, all about them having a bias and a benefit from keeping us at the bottom. So as long as racism exists, according to Neely Fuller Jr., anything said or done by people that is not intended to eliminate racism is a waste of time and energy. And that's where he makes a really good point, because if you're not trying to eliminate racism and help produce justice by giving us a balanced system, you're basically wasting time. And that point basically is one that shatters the narratives as related to the educated black person, or the guy who thinks that he's got the big job. He's thinking that he's got this education and job and that he's got success. But if you're not helping to eliminate racism, you're basically another byproduct of white supremacy doing its work and not working towards helping black people achieve justice and achieve a balanced system that will allow us to be able to be in a place of justice, because in a place of justice you have everybody actually being the same and actually everybody being accountable. And that's what the Most High and Jesus talk about in the kingdom. The kingdom basically is a system of justice, and in the kingdom there is justice, because every man is judged by the content of his character, not the color of his skin or any other point that they use to divide. And that's something people don't understand, because they think that education is, in the black community, is all about a degree. They think that education is all about a degree and having a job. That's what most black people think. And then again, they don't understand how that basically is you just doing the minimum. And again, you're staying in the system of white supremacy because you're receiving benefits from it, but you're not looking to do things to help other people. Again, there's educated and there's smart, and they're two different things. And a lot of people don't understand how the system of white supremacy looks to divide and conquer people by using different things to divide people. Now, Neely Fuller Jr. wants people to use their time in this life towards helping to get towards that system of justice to eliminate racism. And that's what he talks about in this book, about creating a new code for black people to navigate as related to moving in this white supremacist global system. He wants people to move in a different way, and that's what this code teaches you. Now, a lot of what he presents in his code, I have been living and doing every day in my life, from creating positive stories up as a part of the SJS Direct imprint to making these videos talking about men's issues. I always try to, again, go against this white supremacist system in trying to present images and narratives of black empowerment, because the way we get on that road to justice is by us taking control of our image, taking control of our narrative. And this book is a good blueprint to showing us all the racism that goes on inside the system of white supremacy, and it shows us all the written and unwritten social rules that go on in this system of white supremacy. And these are things that I have seen in my own life, and I've talked about this in lots of videos. I've talked about how there are written and unwritten social rules, but Neely Fuller Jr. goes in depth on those unwritten and written social rules of white supremacy and the subtle politics transpiring around those rules, so that people can get a critical look at those rules. And this book gives you the code of white supremacy, actually breaks the code and allows you to get a counter code so that you can be able to navigate a course in life as related to your survival. So this is a book that I would highly recommend you go out here and pick up, especially if you're an FBA foundational black American, because this book will give you all of the written and unwritten social rules that I talk about in many videos. It'll put it to you in print so that you can understand what these rules are. Now, the only thing that I disagree with Neely Fuller is that about being a victim of racism and white supremacy. You can only be a victim by choice, And the way you take your power is by understanding that as a survivor of this system that you were born in, you have a choice to be a victim and you have a choice to take your power. And that's what Black empowerment is all about. It's about us taking our power, and part of taking our power is getting knowledge to be able to think for ourselves and break out of the thinking about the religion of white supremacy and the narratives regarding white supremacy. This is what this book will help you get a good understanding of. So I highly recommend you get this book. Now, it is a little pricey, but you can find copies of it on Amazon.com in paperback, and you can find it there. But Neely Fuller's book and is got a lot of knowledge, and it will be definitely a book that will uplift and empower you. Now, this was a video requested by one of my viewers, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation of a minimum of $15 to the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. Or you can send a donation to PayPal, and that will help the channel, because in order for me to make these videos that you request, you have to send me a donation, and I'll make that video for you. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive Black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, or my Black sorority novel, The Thetas, or my Black vampire novel, Eternal Night, you can find those books on Amazon.com along with Neely Fuller's book, and you can pick them all up on Amazon in whatever order you please. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Pre-order your copy of ISIS, Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft to Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.